Oh, three in a row. That's impressive for me. Today I'm going to talk about some other Overlord characters and place them on my little chart here. If for some reason you're watching the second video first, I guess I can I can explain a little bit. Evil and good, pretty obvious. Lawful, I'm going to say, is more so just like sticking to some kind of code consistently and not flip-flopping all over the place. Chaotic is kind of hard to say what they're going to do. I mean, you could maybe say they're going to do good actions or whatever, but you're not really sure how they're going to go about it. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. Also, any like Nazariq members, I'm going to try to not go too far into just them being all lawful because, oh, they follow Ein's orders or whatever. Because I think that's kind of boring. I'm going to do it more so based on like actions that they take, and not necessarily always what they say, but more so what they do. I saw someone mention Cocytus and how they would put him at lawful neutral, which I mean I think starting, yeah, okay, this is not a bad spot. I'm not going to lie though. I think I would lean him a little bit this way. And the only reason I would do that is because when, the Kingdom Destruction arc, which I'm going to try not to go crazy with spoilers, but it's going to happen. He is destroying a kingdom with a lot of innocent people in it, and he doesn't really seem to have that many qualms with doing so. Now, I don't put him all the way into the evil side because he at least has some, he's like honorable. And if you're a good fighter, he will give you like, he might not kill you, he might, I don't know, whatever. He might give you a quick death. I don't know, whatever. So I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there and say that like he's not really like full on evil, but I do think he's probably a lot more willing to commit evil actions than someone on this side of the chart would be. But again, credit where credit's due. He is like a relatively decent person most of the time, but I think most of his decent qualities come from like honor as a warrior, not necessarily being like some great person just for everybody. I think if you're just some random dude, he's not really going to have that many qualms with just cutting you down and not thinking twice. So that's why I'd kind of put him at the top of lawful, because he definitely has his like honor code and all that, but a little bit to the evil side just because he is willing to do some things that I don't think a good person would do, and I also don't think neutral's that fair because I feel like most of his actions lean toward the evil if I'm going to put him either way. But, not much to say other than that for Cocytus. Fluter. He's a weird one, I'll say. If I had to place Fluter, I would put him at the, like, apex of being chaotic. Because his actions, evil, good, it's more so just what gets him the most benefit, I guess. So it's kind of like, if we just look at his actions and not personality, it's kind of hard to swing either way here. But he also will do whatever the hell he can to get power. So it's kind of like, I think, again, maybe with Cocytus kind of like mirroring that, you could put him like a little toward the evil side. Because he is willing to do those actions, but he's also, I don't think he would have any trouble doing good actions. It's kind of just like, but I definitely would say he's chaotic, because he could flip over to any side anytime. His actions are, the only predictable part of his actions is that he's probably not going to do what you would expect him to do on paper. I don't know, I think he's kind of a weird situation where, like, it's hard for me to place him in evil or good, because I don't really think he has, like, the same moral quandaries like that. I don't think he thinks like that. I just think he's weird. And I would put him kind of just more so chaotic than anything. Next I want to talk about Pestonia. She's kind of interesting again, because she's definitely on the good side. And you could say you know, in a way she's lawful, yes, because she follows, like, you know, Ain's and, you know, has a strict code and things like that. But there are... It's a weird situation where she's good, and we've seen situations where she'll kind of go against Ain's, so I don't think her honor code necessarily, like, always works, because there are times when she'll just do whatever Ayn says. But then there are also times where she'll stick to, you know, what she thinks is right. So I think she kind of flip-flops, you know? Like, there are times when I could see her being all the way up here, and then there are times when I could see her being all the way down here. The only thing that's definitive is that I would put her on this, like, higher end of good, because even in the position that she's in, I mean, she wants to, you know, help children, she wants to, you know, do the best for people, she wants to cut down on casualties. So, like, I would definitely say, like, in the series of Overlord, if we're talking, like, good characters, she is pretty good. And I think she's one of the few in Nazarick that I would be willing to put this far on the good side. Now, we could put her toward the center here, but, like, I don't think she's pure good. And if I'm being totally honest, I'm leaning towards somewhere in this blob here, where she's, you know, she's very good, but she kind of flip-flops at times between what she's doing and who she's willing to follow and things like that. And, you know, she doesn't always stick to her loyalties, so it's kind of like, you know, I can't really say she's always lawful. But I think I could see the argument for putting her in, you know, this upper piece of lawful. I think she's at least a consideration there. But, you know, I would lean toward chaotic, because she's sometimes hard to predict. Next, I want to talk about Zanuck. And this, to me, if I am being perfectly honest, he is probably, I might say, one of the genuinely, like, best characters in terms of character in the series, like, you know, like a moral compass and everything. I would probably place him about here, because he doesn't necessarily, I think he doesn't he's not lawful, because I think he does what he needs to do to get things done. Throughout the series, like, you kind of think he's like a villain or whatever, but in reality he's kind of trying to make the kingdom better, and his ideals just require him to do things that aren't always seen as perfect. But I also wouldn't necessarily say, like, he's chaotic, because, I mean, everything has logic and reason to it, and he does have at least some kind of mix of a code, so I'd kind of put him in the center spot for me. And I kind of lean toward him being good. I think he's really good, because I think through his actions during the series, you kind of see that he cares about the people. You know, he'll go out there and, you know, of course he wants to show his character and everything, but he also wants to be, like, you know, someone that's making the people, I guess, prepared to fight. You know, he wants to make them feel, like, motivated. You know, he's, like, there for a morale boost. Of course he's not that competent as a fighter, but he's at least, you know, showing up to hopefully make his people, you know, feel better and, you know, do a little better in the actual wars themselves. So I'd kind of lean him toward this. I feel like that's going to be a little weird, and some people might not agree with me, but for me, I feel like he leans that way. I think he's a pretty good character overall in terms of morals. And I can't really place him in, like, lawful or chaotic, because I think that he kind of, at time, like, I think deep down he has some sort of code that he follows, but his actions sometimes don't necessarily follow, like, I don't know, follow together closely. They're not always, like, cohesive. They're more so just going toward a goal. And I think for the most part he's doing this for good reasons. He has good intentions, and he wants his kingdom and his people to be better and do better. So I'd place him there. I think it's, you know, I think that makes him kind of interesting as a character, because, like, you just think, like, oh, he must be just like a, like, run-of-the-mill villain or whatever. But no, he's kind of, like, a little more nuanced, which is surprising. Just, you know, for the sake of all sides, I guess. I will admit you could probably lean him back a little bit, and like maybe not, the prime example of good, but I think that he's at least very respectable and has good intentions. Um, you know, the next one's kind of weird for me. It's Nobril. She's. I'm going to say, because there are times when she'll, like, think about, like, oh, like, that doesn't really make sense that Ainz would do that or whatever. I don't think she necessarily, like, sticks to a code, but I think that she's relatively respectable. And she also can kind of understand, like, oh, okay, like, maybe I shouldn't do this, like, or do that or whatever. But she's also definitely evil because, certain people she has no problems getting rid of or disliking. So I would probably put her in, like, this corner, kind of, like, around lawful evil. Like, she has some restrictions, she's not going around doing whatever she wants, whenever she wants. And, I wouldn't put her in, like, pure evil, because, I mean, she, again, can hold herself back to some degree. She at least has some sort of, like, restrictions on herself, and, at least tries to be, at a surface level, respectable to the people around her. And then, like, I wouldn't put her at, like, peak lawful or anything, because, I mean, it's not like she does anything with, like, extreme, prejudice or whatever, like, where she's just always going to follow this exact law or creed or whatever. I think there are times when she'll say, like, oh, I don't know why I did that, which, I'm not going to try to lean too heavily into, like, their loyalty to Ainz, because I feel like that would just make them all lawful, but I think that does at least show her character, and that she can, she's a little flexible, at least, when it comes to that. So I think a fair place is somewhere around, like, lawful evil, but, not quite the peak of lawful, and, either the peak of evil or slightly, like, behind, because, I mean, she does enjoy, calling people cockroaches and singeing them alive. So, I mean, I can't say she's necessarily good. Yeah. So... Of course, no morality tier list is complete without Bona. I assume no one knows who this is, because why would you? This guy, was just like a captain, not particularly good at anything he did. But the hero, of course. In the story. When the demons attacked, I think it's Riestes, I don't remember all the names off the top of my head. He was on those front lines fighting those demons and, all that stuff, and died almost instantly. I think he was, like, one day away from retirement. And, a bit of a coward. A loser, if you will. I'm pretty sure he tried to run away from the battle. I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's, like, the world's worst person. But, considering he wanted to run away from his men, didn't want to help anybody, and, was overall kind of pathetic, I'd probably put him somewhere here, I guess. In this little blurb. Like, I wouldn't say he's a good he definitely leans away from good person. He wanted to run away from, helping his friends and allies, peers, if you will. He didn't really care about anyone else. He held very little, loyalty for any of his people. And, he's only really in his position because he's, like, an old guy. Yeah, and, because he's so flip-floppy with ties, I mean, I would put him a little chaotic at least. He's definitely not lawful, I would say. Even though he was, like, a guard captain. I don't know. He's my silly pick for this video, and I think I'd put him here. Not a great person, but not like, you know, shell tier. Shell tier bad. Just kind of like a douchebag that no one likes. Yeah, I think that's about it. You know, why don't I throw in a little like curveball here? Let's throw in Mare and Aura. Why not? I don't know. Something for the fun of this. I'll make Mare green. They're unique. I don't think if we're starting with Mare, that's an interesting one. Because I think Mare is almost amoral. He doesn't really seem to have any qualms killing people, and he acts almost like naive. So I think, although I don't think he has like the world's worst thoughts, he's also like willing to like throw people in torture chambers and, you know, destroy entire cities and things like that. So I think he kind of has to go at evil. And I'm going to lean right in this little spot because he's he's kind of all over the place. You know, like how he acts, like you wouldn't expect him to be like, you know, the world's worst person or anything, but he's pretty amoral and is willing to just kill people with like this simple like tip of a hat, basically. Yeah, not great. Really the only like thing that I could say would be lawful would be, you know, him following Ainz's orders, but you know, it's still in a very childlike way, and I think if we're just going off of actions, I kind of have to put him there. If we're like disregarding Ainz here in the factor, because I think if I, you know, again, adding Ainz kind of just puts all the Guardians up here, and I don't think that's fun. Now, Aura. Let's just use gold. You know, I'm gonna put Aura here because Aura's kind of lawful. They have, you know, she has a little bit of a code going on where she will do certain things kind of to make the best impression she can on Ainz, I think. So it's kind of like she does have a little bit of a code outside of just what Ainz says. Like she also wants to kind of like present herself as competent, and you know, with Sheltier, for example, she wants to be like, you know, seen as responsible against her. And I think, you know, she actually sticks to it, unlike Sheltier. As far as like evil goes, I actually don't think she's as evil as Mare. I think Aura at least has some thought behind some of the things she does. And also she can get along with people, you know, without killing them, which is, you know, something to say about, you know, a character from Nazarick. So I kind of feel like Aura, you know, has a little bit of a better pull for me, at least. You know, not quite as like amoral, just like a sociopath, as I think Mare kind of tends to be. So I'll give her some credit, and I think I'll put her in that little, like, you know, that little area right there. Perfect. You know, little lawful, little evil, mix, you know, mix, right? Yeah, I think that's good enough for a bonus, outside of course, Bona. Yeah, I think that's where I'll lie for now. If you want to see me, you know, rank more on this little chart, this little mosaic, which I think is looking kind of interesting now. It's about as funky as I was expecting. Yeah, I mean, let me know, I guess. Like, comment, maybe let me know what other characters you want me to list, or maybe another series you want me to talk about. I don't know. I just do this for fun, so